This episode is brought to you by New Moon Wishing, a self-care guidebook for wishful thinkers. Please see the link in the show notes.
Welcome to the Starzology Astrology podcast. I'm your host, Arwynne O'Neill, and today I'm here with my mother, Sionanne O'Neill.
Hi there.
And our good friend of the podcast and friend of our life, Bo.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, thank you for coming again. We are going to be talking today about another TV show that we love, Lost. Epic TV show that ran from 2004 to 2010. And now we are experiencing the 20-year anniversary. Even before I began researching it for this episode, I started to see reminders in my feed about Lost. And I was like, oh my God, it's all timely. It's all happening. It's all coming together at the right time. It's amazing. And I believe it just came back to one of the streaming services where it was not for a while. So whether that's Netflix or what have you, one of the ones I don't have, I've already seen the show in its entirety from start to finish 3 or 4 times. It was one of my COVID comfort foods, along with, sad to say, Law and Order. Not just sad to say, I mean, who doesn't love Law and Order in its own...
There's a reason why it's so successful.
Doses, exactly. But we're talking today about Lost. We're going to be going through all of the main characters and our speculations about what signs they are. We're going to be doing their sun, moon, and rising sign, the Holy Trinity. And we're going to talk a bit about the actors themselves, their character arcs, and we're going to, maybe we'll touch a bit on the controversial ending, but probably not, because I personally am one of those people who, I just love the show. It was one of the best shows. It was so complex. It was so riveting. It was so well done. And whether they dropped the ball at the end or not, I think is just a matter of everything ends, Some shows can end perfectly, like Breaking Bad or Mad Men, and some shows will kind of lose it at the end and you kind of go, what the hell, like Game of Thrones, but then they come back with a prequel, which is all awesome. And who knows, maybe one day we'll be able to ask AI, hey, could you really, just fix season 7 of Game of Thrones and just do it right? And it will just spit it out for us. And I think we'll all kind of rue the day, but at the same time, maybe welcome it. So
just for a change.
Yeah.
It's a different perspective.
Exactly.
Before we get too far, have you gone down the rabbit hole of the online...
Lostopedia?
Not Lostopedia, where they cut and reproduce Lost in chronological order so you can see it in time as it was supposed to happen.
I did not, but I did that with Westworld.
Yeah.
That was an amazing one. And we wouldn't have, this is just the lore of shows. We wouldn't have Westworld if not for Lost. Lost was so groundbreaking. And we wouldn't have Walking Dead. Walking Dead came out right after Lost ended. And I think that's one of the reasons Walking Dead at the beginning was so successful. I mean, regardless of the fact that the first season is probably the best season of The Walking Dead. And that show really talk about dropping the ball and then coming out with many, many sequels and spin-offs and whatnot to varying degrees of success. But yeah, we were all just kind of at the end of Lost, bereft and wanting something similar and give me an ensemble cast that I can just sink my heart and soul into. And then there was Walking Dead. Mm-hmm. But yeah, let's go back. 2004, the days of the low-rise jeans and the tiny, tiny tank tops and the impossible hip bones and a crash landing on a beach. We open on a man's face surrounded by leaves. He opens his eyes. He's surrounded by forest. He stumbles to the beach. There's a burning plane. And then we meet the rest of the cast, slowly but surely. Mm-hmm. So I think we can start with Jack.
Let's start with Jack.
What do we think?
Okay, let's see.
I'm going to jump ahead and
go for it.
I think Jack's an Aries. He's a leader. Everyone immediately thinks he's a leader. It's easy. It's pretty obvious. But I think he has a Virgo moon. And Virgo, as we've said in our Friends episode, is a very difficult moon for men to have. Yeah. Which it speaks to his difficulty with his father, with his perfectionism, with his alcoholism, and his need to be perfect, but impossibility of being perfect.
Yeah, and those things that are uncovered
later on
through the arc of the
there will
show.
be spoilers like throughout this. If you haven't seen Lost, like turn this off and come back to us a couple months from now when you've seen all of Lost.
So
yeah,
we'll be here.
You will be here.
I, interestingly, when you first, started having a conversation about this episode, you said Virgo.
Yeah.
I immediately said Pisces.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
And so mainly self-sabotage,
Totally.
addiction,
Alcoholism.
Duality of man.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so I don't know how well that fits with your vast knowledge of the show, but...
Well, he could have a Pisces moon at Virgo rising.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, and just like, the whole thing with Kate...
The love triangle.
I just like all the choices and the angst around them.
Yeah.
It's just, he lived such an impossible life.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Which screams Pisces to me.
Yeah.
But I agree. He's
that compulsion to heal, but like...
He's a healer.
He's a healer.
He's a nurturer.
But not like,
But as a doctor...
But not very understanding, not very human. In a weird way.
Right, but if you've got both of those elements, Pisces and the Virgo, there'd be that constant
opposition,
duality and the opposition at the same time.
Right.
Yeah, that's.
And in the end, he's the one who. I give you the Pisces moon because in the end, he almost becomes like that that religious martyr where he decides that he's the one who was going to sacrifice himself to save the island. That's a Pisces. The sense of peace and closure by...
Yeah, I totally think Pisces.
100%.
Even though, like, I'm very, very reluctant to admit
Oh,
Pisces.
yeah.
Which so many are.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And,
totally.
And because obviously that Virgo thing, too, is like... you want to do the perfect thing and you want to save everybody. You want to do it right, and you don't get a second chance in real life, but on Lost, you kind of do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that a lot of people didn't like was like, what's going on with the whole parallel timeline? That was one of my favorite things about it. I mean, I can't say that I loved everything about the final episode, but I mean, who didn't love all of the reunions, all of the, I mean, I'm going to get teary just thinking about Sun and Jin, like, reuniting, like, a couple of times throughout the course of the show.
Yeah.
And that final episode where they're all, like, recognizing each other, it's, God. Who could watch the whole show and not love that in some way? Like, you might be like, oh, there's some mysteries that they didn't solve. Like, there were some, like, loose ends. Like, geez, come on,
I don't know if it's worth mentioning, but Matthew Fox is a Cancer.
That is worth mentioning. Because he definitely brings that pathos and that wateriness to the
role. Yeah,
interesting.
for sure.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
So that brings us to Kate.
Kate
Austin. Kate is. I'm just gonna read the little blurb here in case anyone who's needing. And also, if you're listening along and you're like, which one was that? Please just go look it up on the cast because we would love to show pictures as we go along. But this is an audio podcast. And if you're going to look at the blog, look at the pictures of them. And then you'll be like, oh, right, Kate. Anyway, Kate Austin is a fugitive with a troubled past. All of her issues come forth with her parents, with her dad, with her struggle with the law. She ends up quote unquote, adopting a child halfway through and with Claire's baby, who she ends up raising as her own because Claire kind of goes nuts, and we'll get to Claire later. She has this love triangle with Jack and Sawyer. My favorite, Sawyer. We'll get to Sawyer. But like one of the best kisses in all of television history is them on the beach. But anyway, her feelings for the two of them definitely pulled in two different directions. And in the end, she becomes a protector and a champion. And she's probably one of the bravest characters in the whole show. Like she's definitely not a reluctant hero. She's constantly throwing herself into the fray. Yeah. She's constantly going, let me come with you. I'm going with you. I'm going, and charging off into the forest. And I'm seeing Gemini for the sun sign.
And I would claim her as a Sag.
Ooh, I gave her Sag rising. So, okay. So yeah.
There's an element of Aries in there too.
I
don't know where, but...
Yeah.
But maybe not. Maybe a Mars.
I mean, Mars is for sure, like, really strong there.
Yeah.
I went with Gemini, Sag rising, and Scorpio moon because there's just like a lot of darkness too.
But
But
Scorpio moon could also give that.
That same,
It's just like Scorpio moon's a little more covert.
Yeah. And she does have a lot to hide.
She does have a lot to hide.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, there's a duality though. That's where I get that Gemini. And wherever that Gemini is
to the sun, rising or sun.
There's some duality, there's some hiding of her agenda, and she's not always honest with people, and she's not even honest with herself. Like that's a really interesting thing.
And that's very Scorpio moon too.
For sure. Yeah.
Know that one well.
Yeah. Preach. My mother has Scorpio moon. Oh,
sorry.
Yeah,
the actor's Leo.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Evangeline Lilly.
Evangeline Lilly. You may know her as the Wasp from the Ant-Man movies. I was so happy to see her in those.
She is quite wonderful.
Yeah, she is wonderful.
Yeah.
And if you ever just want to have like hip bone envy, like watching The Lost is like, whoa. Yeah. Just the low-rise jeans. And that's the last time I'm going to say that. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see. This is your drinking game for the episode.
And she made a good elf.
Yeah. Wait, what?
Tyrell in Lord of the Rings.
She was in Lord of the Rings?
She was Tyrell, the elf that falls in love with the one dwarf, and I can't remember which one they had, but it was Aidan Turner.
Was that before
the
Lost?
Gorgeous Gemini, Aidan Turner.
Was that before Lost even? Like, Lost came out in 2004. Those movies were...
That was 2014.
Oh, The Hobbit. Okay, I was like, I'm sorry.
Dissolution.
Even though it was named after a character in The Lord of the Rings, I have not seen The Hobbit movie. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, she's awesome. Yeah, of course she would make a good elf. Yeah, she's got that amazing... And that's another reason why I would see the Gemini thing. Maybe she's got Gemini rising.
Yeah.
She does have those wonderful Gemini eyebrows.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely claimed her.
Yeah.
So you think she's Sag still?
Yeah, I still do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sag.
I would go like full out, just Sag, Gemini rising, and a Scorpio moon.
Oh, that's just like
Oh.
you.
Wow. Who has that
Who
placement?
identifies with that?
Interesting. All right.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Cool.
Have you ever been arrested?
I have not.
Have you ever dreamed of killing someone for revenge because they wronged your mother?
Frequently.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. I love it. All right. Which brings us to Sawyer. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. He favorite. But he starts out as like this, it's very similar actually to our favorite from Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, where he starts out as this character who you're just like, why? You know, he's just so dark and troubled and he just disturbing everybody and hoarding supplies.
Yeah, so why is he so compelling?
But, well, I mean, yeah, the bad boy thing, sure, that's a thing. But he's because he's a good actor, probably, because he made us know that there was something deeper going on. And, you know, this show is like a long-running show. We're not just going to have one character who's like a total ass and like nobody likes him. Even the characters who are definitely borderline evil, like, I mean, Ben Linus, even he has...
Fucking love Ben.
You know, he has great qualities. And he's so compelling, and you can really see, we'll get to him later, but we can really see why he's a leader, because there's just something very, very charming and compelling about him. Mm-hmm. And there are actually a couple of astrological comparisons that I would make between Sawyer and Ben. There's definitely Scorpio in both of them. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
Like, this might be a total disagreement thing, but I put Sawyer as a Scorpio with Aries rising.
Oh, yeah. I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure about the moon.
The Steve McQueen vibe.
Steve McQueen vibe. Yeah. Interesting. For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's that whole thing where he goes back in time, that whole season. This is why I think I've chosen like Taurus moon, because he comes into like this incredibly solid, nurturing, providing, like, and then in the alternate reality later, he is a cop and he's like a good cop, you know, and he's very upstanding and very solid and very action oriented and just like getting it done. And that's a very Taurus thing, I think.
Yeah.
So it's like, maybe he didn't get to express his Taurus energy in like the normal timeline, but then when he goes back in time, all of a sudden he's like, oh, I'm just going to pick up the hammer or whatever. And in the alternate timeline, he's like the total good cop, the good guy. You know, that is brought out when he gets together with Juliet.
Yeah.
You know, I love him with Kate.
Right.
Oh, I totally was just, you know, rooting for them because they had such chemistry.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously he was better with Juliet.
Yeah, but it had such destructive potential.
Yeah, totally.
Josh Holloway is also a Cancer.
Interesting. Yeah, he's a really good actor.
Mm-hmm.
I loved him in what was that show with the Colony?
Oh, I loved Colony too.
Colony's so great, and also with what's her face from Walking Dead,
Mm-hmm.
who was way better in Colony than in The Walking Dead, because she was like the annoying wife who everyone hates in Walking Dead, but then she's like kind of awesome, and also had some hated qualities in Colony, but still really cool.
Wouldn't we consider him a cusp though at July 20th?
I mean,
there's no cusps.
Oh yeah.
You know
Okay.
I kind of take that stance too.
Yeah.
When it comes to sun signs, but
Yeah.
Okay. I'll go along with that. I probably only said that because the whole idea of like Cancer men, and it's just
we all have our prejudices.
Yeah, right. We all have our prejudices.
Yeah, for sure.
You're always trying to be Cancer.
Yeah. I was trying to give him the benefit of my doubt.
Hilarious, amazing.
Okay, so then that leads us to
Juliet. I'm thinking.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So Juliet, I'm going to say, okay. So Juliet, like, let's go to her character. Juliet starts out as one of the others. She's brought to the island under we learn under false pretenses. She thinks she's going to be able to save her sister who's dying of cancer, and she's going to be a nurse, and she's going to help women like give birth. And then it turns out that she's part of this crazy conspiracy, and they're trapping people and blah, blah, blah. And then she ends up finding love with Sawyer in the alternate timeline. She ends up being a really integral part of saving a lot of people, including Sun when she's pregnant. And we don't trust her at all at first. Like there's a very definite duality, which I will see in what I think is her Holy Trinity. Spoiler, her death was like one of the most tragic deaths, I think, of all the characters. That was like unexpected and like, no,
Remind me how she died?
Oh, she's got sucked into the terrible vortex thing with when they're trying the exploding, when they're building the... Oh my God. I'm doing this thing with my hand. Anyone who's seen the show will probably remember. Was it the end of season 5 or 6? It was what basically brought the timelines back together, and they were building the like the reactor or whatever.
Yeah.
And she ends up getting like just falling into the thing. It's very unexpected and like, no. Yeah.
So before you reveal your thought, she screams to me like, I will sacrifice anything to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Right? So what sign gives off that vibe? I can justify anything on behalf of humanity or on behalf of a loved one or on behalf of blah, blah, blah. That's what she screams to me. And she can be quite evil.
Yeah. For sure, yeah.
But it's not coming from an evil place. It's not evil for the sake of being evil.
Exactly.
Right?
I mean,
I have my thoughts, but...
Yeah.
And I think we have them reversed.
I think maybe. I'm going Capricorn Sun, Cancer Moon. Because I see the duality. Whatever she is, there's the opposing thing. And
I think she's a Cancer Sun.
Oh, so you went...
Yeah.
You got the same. Interesting. Yeah. It could go either way. Because she wants to help, but she's got that dark side.
Yeah. And
she's willing to do anything to accomplish the thing. And
I think the dark side is a little more open.
Yeah.
A little more visual. It's a little less hidden.
Yeah.
Than, so if we reverse my argument for her being a Cancer Sun.
Yeah.
And Cancer Sun, so many people say Cancer, a lot of really derogatory things about Cancers, right? Mm-hmm. Weak, blah, 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 blah. They're not weak.
No.
They are... Someone recently described this to me. It is the person who is holding someone underwater to save them from themselves. Right? And like...
That's a very
while
lost...
crying, and while feeling it, and while being very sad that you have to pass on to your next life or whatever.
Yeah.
Like... I've never heard something so...
That's amazing.
I can't take credit for it. It's not mine. But
but that's very lost, and that's also very The Abyss, the movie The Abyss.
Yeah.
Like where they have to, they're breathing that liquid oxygen, and they basically have to sort of die. to begin breathing the liquid oxygen, and what's Mary Elizabeth Master Antonio's character, like she actually like pretty much dies and is like resurrected. And that whole scene is very... Yeah, it's very what you described.
Yeah.
for sure.
That's what I think of.
Yeah. Either way,
no, I can
it's definitely
see
that Cancer Capricorn axis.
Yeah.
Yeah. It almost doesn't matter what rising sign she has.
Right.
I went with like Taurus or Libra, but
I think Libra, but it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't really matter. Yeah. That Cancer Capricorn thing. And so for anyone who thinks that we don't talk about Cancer or Capricorn enough, like it's like a definite like a pivotal character for sure.
Mm.
And now Jin and Sun. Oh, Jin and Sun. Yeah.
Oh, Elizabeth Mitchell.
Oh, she's Juliet.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. What is she in?
She's an Aries.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool.
Maybe Scorpio rising.
Ooh, okay. I could go with that.
Because everything's secretive.
Yeah, totally.
When it comes to Juliet.
Yeah, but for the right reasons. Yeah, totally.
Right, yeah.
Awesome.
Who are we doing first, Jen or Sun?
Let's do Jin. I mean, we kind of have to do them combined, but okay. So let's say actors' names. Let's do that first. Daniel Day Kim, and he's been in a lot of things. He's been in like the remake of Hawaii 5-0. He's just so beautiful. It's really wonderful to just everyone on the show is like stunning, but not everyone, but most of them. Especially when you go back and you've seen them in other things, you're like, oh, look how beautiful their skin was. And the abs, God, yeah.
And then Yoon Jin Kim.
Yeah, as Sun.
His son.
Yeah. So there's a lot of, when I went through their delineation of like what I think their characters are, I had to look at them sort of together because their relationship is so tied together and their characters are so intertwined. I went for him with Taurus Sun and for her Virgo Sun, but for him Virgo Rising and for her Libra Rising.
I can see that.
Yeah.
And then for him Capricorn Moon and for her Cancer Moon, because she definitely has that nurturing thing. She plants the garden. She ends up raising the child, and he has that stony like ambitious thing where he'll do anything and work for the father. What he did for the father, and he can totally compartmentalize, which is very Capricorn Moon, and just get it done and do whatever he has to do for his family without letting it sort of seep in to affect who he is like at heart. Right. But then you see that he does like have like this incredibly soulful thing,
because it does
affect him for sure. Yeah. But then the Virgo Rising, like he's always trying to cover her up in the first season, and but then I see her having like the Virgo Sun, which correlates to his Virgo Rising.
Jen, the actor who plays Jen, is a Leo, and the actor who plays Sun is a Scorpio.
Oh, interesting. I like that.
Which I can totally see, actually.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she's very secretive too at first.
Yeah.
Cool. They're like one of my favorite couples two of my favorite characters, I guess you could say, on the show. And any reunion they have, and they have several reunions throughout the course of the show. Yeah. And every single one is just like, oh God,
they find each other.
My heart. Yeah, they're amazing. There's this thing, and anyone who watched Lost who hasn't seen how it should have ended, there's this. It's hilarious. It's this little cartoon thing where it's not been on for like a long time, but if you want to go to YouTube and find how it should have ended, it's one of the funniest things. And their episode of Lost, of like how Lost should have ended, is very funny and hilarious. But I actually like the way Lost ended, so it's just a nice little addition to that. Something you can do when you're after you've listened to this episode and you want more Lost. Yeah. So next up, let's go to Hurley. I love Hurley.
So I don't.
Really?
Hurley. I don't know why.
Wow. Huh.
I think it's probably has to do with your character, astrological character arc that you designed here. Yeah. But I'll let you get into it.
So Hurley, his character, he starts out as and even Wikipedia says he's lovable, unlucky lottery winner, burdened by the numbers curse. His journey is of self-acceptance and growth. He ultimately becomes a wise and compassionate leader. He ends up as the island's protector. He's chosen for his innate goodness and empathy. He ends up falling in love with what's her name in the psych ward.
Oh.
And that whole thing. And he loves her, and then she ends up being shot by Michael, which is like terrible, shocking death. And you feel just like, oh my God, no, Hurley just found love. And he hoards food in the beginning, and then he, goes through this whole like self-discovery thing. Yeah. Yeah. So he's lovable.
I I never trusted him throughout the show.
Really?
Which is so funny because you're supposed to.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
And he's the sort of audience proxy sometimes where he's like just bringing in like the BS detector thing of like, wait a minute, what?
Yeah.
Why are we doing this? Or why aren't we doing this?
Yeah.
It didn't work for you.
I just couldn't ever. I was just like, okay, well, what are you about to do?
Oh, interesting.
What incredibly good decision were you thinking you were going to make that ended up causing tragedy for everybody?
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
You're too good.
Yeah.
You know?
Interesting.
Yeah.
So he's like the opposite of character we'll get to, which of course is Charlie, but not yet. We'll get to him in a second. So I think Hurley is a Cancer.
I do love Charlie.
Yeah.
I mean, who doesn't? But
Yeah. Especially in the end.
Yeah.
Oh, sad. Too soon. So Hurley, I think, is a Cancer with Taurus moon and Pisces rising.
I have Pisces rising.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, maybe
it's introspective.
Maybe you're like, I don't like that.
I don't like how good you are.
Right.
Be tougher.
Right. Oh God. What do you think?
I would agree. And I mean, and he was one of those characters that I just never. Not that I didn't trust him.
I mean, they didn't give him as much of a deep storyline. That's true.
Yeah.
He's definitely the one that's like, don't give him the button.
Right.
To protect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The next person that comes along and gives him a good reason, he'll, okay, sure.
Yeah, sort of the golden retriever.
Yeah. Aw.
You know.
You can trust him with a lot of things, but don't.
By this logic, I'm the one going, I love the golden retriever. You guys are like, I don't trust the golden retriever.
Well, I mean,
What's he up to?
Don't put the
What's he
golden
going to bring
retriever
back?
in charge of guarding the house.
Well, no,
You
for
know?
sure. Especially not like the haunted house with the weird magnetic thing and this spooky, like, mad scientist underground.
Yeah.
That, you know.
Just don't push him beyond his capabilities.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. The comic relief, but adorable.
Yeah.
All right.
But on an island fraught with potential danger.
Yeah.
Not really the one to be dependent on.
True.
Although
he did come through in a lot of different situations, surprisingly.
Yeah.
He had a big role in the ending, didn't he?
He did, yeah. He was one of the few who stayed on the island.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, he ends up staying, and because of his innate goodness.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Charlie.
I love Charlie.
I
love Charlie from day one.
Yeah.
Locked in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Drug addicted.
Totally.
You know?
Yeah.
Basket case.
I gave him
Alternative rock.
This terrible song that we will not quote because it will get stuck in your head.
But I think you're dead on with your son.
Yeah. Cancer sun, Scorpio moon, Pisces rising. Wait, no.
No.
Sorry.
Pisces sun,
Leo moon, because he's the rock star, Scorpio rising. I have Scorpio rising, so, I mean, if I'm going to give a character Scorpio rising, must mean I like him. And he's got the little self-made tattoos and the skull rings and stuff like that. He's got, but he's got a heart of gold underneath it, and he wants to save Claire's baby, and in the end, he sacrifices himself by drowning.
Yeah.
Oh, not Penny's boat. Yeah. That was great.
That was all good.
Yeah.
I was so mad.
I know, God.
It was too early.
It was.
Yeah.
I could have.
Yeah.
But, I mean, there was enough foreshadowing, like with Desmond trying to save him, and all of that was just.
Yeah.
Yeah. God.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah. Good character.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Claire. Cancer with Scorpio moon and Pisces rising.
All water.
All water, for sure. All water.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Every once in a while, that little weird baby thing that she made with the skull, the little possum skull or whatever it was. After she went crazy, it's not funny. Every time, not every, once in a while, at least once a month, that'll come into my mind for no reason, and I'll be like, ugh, Claire's baby.
Once a month.
Not once a month. Once every 3 months or something.
I'm just gonna randomly text you that picture.
Please do. I look forward to that. I relish that.
Oh my God.
Claire. Yeah. Yeah, because she had a dark side. She was one of the few who was not saved by the, she sort of succumbed to the dark side of the island, and definitely you would not think that in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
You would think, okay, she's this angelic,
Yeah, she's just so sweet.
So sweet. But
Yeah, and the actor who plays that, she's a Capricorn.
Interesting.
Oh, we skipped Hurley and Charlie.
Oh yeah, let's do that. What's Hurley? Sorry.
I didn't have it pulled up. So Charlie, I got Charlie.
Charlie, yeah.
Charlie is a Sag.
Nice. Aw.
Oh, Dominique, yeah.
And we all love him.
Yeah.
So.
And then Hurley.
Taurus, right?
Hmm.
April, May. Yeah, April 28th.
Yeah. Totally Taurus. Nice.
And Claire was what? The actor who played Claire?
Capricorn.
Mm-hmm.
Capricorn. Okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Locke.
Another one of my least favorite characters.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, he's so complicated. So he arrives on the island in a wheelchair. Or no, sorry, he arrives walking.
Yeah, that's
right.
And then we eventually find out that he had been in a wheelchair.
In the wheelchair.
Until he landed on the island and then suddenly found that he was magically healed and could walk. And then his whole backstory gets insanely complicated.
Yeah.
Like a con man father figure who he then ends up giving up his kidney, and his actual father is like super complicated. And there's a lot of even in the titles of the show, like the daddy issues on the show are insane, off the charts, so complicated, but so, I wouldn't say relatable, but like all the characters, the structure of the show is such that every episode basically goes into like a flashback of like something about each individual character.
Yeah.
And it was before the kind of the term bottle episode became a thing, which was more of a Walking Dead situation. Yeah. But with Lost, like the characters actually could support it. You know, with I think subsequent shows where they do an ensemble cast, and then you think, oh God, they're going to do a whole episode about that character. Like I don't care about that one. But with this, with Lost, you really did care. Like it was a rare one where you didn't actually just keep watching, and you know it wasn't like, oh, it's an episode about Locke, like I don't care about you cared about all of them, and they all intertwined and became like super poignant and actually became intertwined. I mean, we find out that Claire and Jack are brother and sister, half brother and sister,
right,
and
the intertwining I thought was fascinating,
super interesting.
All the layers of that
totally
sort of came through as we went along.
But John Locke, like he's the man of faith versus the man of science, which was Jack.
Right. And
he's the man who wants to keep pushing the button in the hatch. And then the whole Desmond man of faith thing where he's not a man of faith, but he is like the man of synchronicity and the man of destiny, where it turns, and we'll get into Desmond later, but it's like there's that triad of faith versus science versus like somewhere in between where it's like you don't have to believe because the science is really that wacky and it really is happening to you, even though it seems like something mystical, but it's real, you know. And but Locke is the one who is constantly, his faith is tested, but he's constantly the one who wants to believe, quote unquote, I want to believe, and then he ends up tragically taking his own life halfway through the character arc and coming back as the man in black and not being himself, but actually his body is just being kind of paraded around as like this arch villain who, smoke monster dude.
Right.
Yeah. So
that's such a weird arc.
I'm surprised
so weird
that you don't have any water in this side.
I know. I mean, it is weird. Yeah.
So what have you got there?
I said he was a Sag.
Oh.
I know.
Which, I mean, his religious beliefs.
Yeah.
For sure, because there is that religious thing. Yeah.
And that almost messianic thing, which, I mean, Pisces too. But.
Right. But he's so active in his. It's not like a sitting back and even I don't think on our list we went through Mr. Echo, but he was an actual priest on the show.
Right.
But they're both very active characters, and Echo is even more, I think, more of that sort of Piscean religious man sort of figure, but he was a warlord as well, right? And so I think with Locke, it's like he constantly wants to just move. He wants to be active, and he even says, like, when he's going to the island, like, and he's in a wheelchair and he's trying to convince them to let him go on this walkabout or whatever it was, like, just let me do it, that whole thing. He's like the knives and all that. Right. So I don't see him as being a watery character, even though he's put forth as like the character who's like the man of faith. I think it's much more of like that Sagittarian Jupiter than the Piscean Jupiter.
I see that. I guess I mean more so with his moon, and I do go ahead and say what
go ahead.
It is, but I do think that there's a lot of emotionality tied to your proposed moon. So and a lot of learning. tied to your proposed moon.
But then he failed in that in the end, which is like he's one of the few characters where, I mean, actually a lot of the characters kind of fail in their mission, really, to themselves and to others. Like there's a lot of characters who don't actually get to express their final thing, and they just, So he's one of the big characters who actually has a super tragic ending, really.
Mm-hmm. His proposed moon being Aries.
I mean, yeah.
Which I can see it.
I think I was going for the like that innocence that we. I think we talked about that in the Friends episode.
Probably the most
naive, right?
Yeah.
So that Aries moon is just like that hatchling that I'm new to this planet, sort of, and there is. Although Aries is the most skeptical of all the signs, which I'm not convinced that it's Aries moon. Mm-hmm. But I think what I was going for when I proposed that was just that wide-eyed innocent, willing to accept almost any kind of what. But yeah, maybe that's not an Aries thing. Maybe what is that? I don't know. Maybe it's a Pisces moon. I don't know.
I mean, he's not.
He's got empathy though.
He does, but it's that more.
It's a selfish
Cancer?
Empathy. Yeah, I know a lot of people with Cancer moon, and Cancer moon works really well. His moon doesn't work for him. That's the thing, because Cancer's it's exalted or it's the ruler of the moon, right? So people with Cancer moon, it actually works really well for them, and his moon doesn't work for him. That's the thing. So
what's the opposite of that? Capricorn?
Yeah, maybe. Although he's not very enterprising.
Well, but the moon's not the sign that is enterprising.
True. Yeah, it's a bad fit, whatever his moon is. Yeah.
And the actor's a Cancer.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. He's a great actor. I love it when I see him in something.
Yeah.
He's still really popping up all the time. Like, cool, it's Locke.
And then for his rising sign, I immediately think, like, what is the most, like, Boy Scout soldier?
Yeah. I mean, that might be Aries.
Maybe that's where his Aries is.
Yeah. Aries rising.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
totally.
I can see that.
Yeah. Interesting. All right. Let's go to Saeed.
I do love him.
Oh, yeah, definitely. One of my favorite episode titles. And you wouldn't even know this if you were watching it on TV, but the very first way I ever watched this show was on DVD, of all things. Back in the day when you watched DVDs and you'd see the episode titles, and they were all very funny. And the episode title where we get to his backstory was He's Our You. And so it was about the torturer from the others camp.
Oh, right.
And he was their torturer. So he's like, he's our Saeed, he's our you. Yeah, just kind of funny. And then another one was about Sawyer when all cowboys have daddy issues. That was another good title. But Saeed, Saeed begins as a tortured soul. He's a former Iraqi soldier. He's haunted by his past. He's searching for the woman he loved, Nadia. Was it Nadia? And later he finds love with Shannon, who's like a total nitwit. And we just hate at first because she just wants to do nothing but like sunbathe and I think drink and like and her brother Boone is like a bit of a twit at first, and then we realize he's actually pretty cool despite being like outlandishly beautiful and having the most chiseled features and perfect little sculptural eyebrows. They're both just very glamorous and very like Los Angeles kind of looking, and but Saeed falls in love with Shannon and really I think redeems her character and then she dies tragically. But we end up seeing her through his eyes and hating her less because Saeed, who we have deep respect for as a character, falls so in love with her, and we just want him to be happy. And then sadly, it doesn't work out. But he, I think, is maybe a Capricorn with Scorpio rising.
Oh, interesting.
I agree with your whole.
And then I gave him a Libra moon because he does have that love and partnership compelling him forward in pretty much all of his character arc.
And he's a Capricorn.
In real life. Oh, nice. Anything else to say about Saeed?
Yeah, I mean, normally,
Yeah, he's awesome.
I mean, Capricorn is one of those that I struggle with.
Yeah.
But his character and the, overcoming the things that you've done or been forced to do.
Yeah.
And all of that.
Yeah.
And not being watery about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, think too, like this is 2004 when the show came out. Like that was pretty groundbreaking to have like a former Iraqi soldier as one of your main characters in like a sympathetic way.
Yeah.
Like it was like pretty much the height of the Iraq War. Like that was not by any means over. It was actually right before the surge and all that. Like the show was running like throughout the height of the Iraq War, and he's one of our favorite characters. So I think that was kind of a really interesting, groundbreaking thing to throw in there for the showrunners. And another character who is one of our favorites, Desmond.
Another one that I don't care for.
Really?
I don't care for Desmond or Penny.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I don't know why.
There's not a whole lot to Penny, although she's definitely, I love that she just doesn't give up on him. And that's one of the most admirable traits, I think, of anyone on the show is like when they're just like, when they won't give up on like, no, we need to go look for him. We need to, because in real life, like that doesn't think unless you're in the military, like you're like, well, he probably wandered off, like you don't often like scramble a party together to go look for someone just when, but like on this show, always. And she sticks around waiting for Desmond for like a decade or so. It's a crazy amount of time. A long time. Yeah. And she does not get remarried and she does not, just change her entire life. And she's just only too happy to drop everything and like find him as soon as she finds out that he's still out there. I've made him a Sagittarius with a Libra moon and Aquarius rising.
Oh, I would,
it's hard to argue.
I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah.
And because just in the midst of that surreal insanity.
Yeah, he's got so much like just bizarreness to his character.
Yeah.
And he really brings, I think he's like the first indication that we see that like there's a lot of mystery to the island at the beginning, but then as soon as his character comes in, you're like, oh, this might not just be weirdness. This is actually there's something bizarre actually going
there's something
on.
Real in all of this weirdness.
Yeah. It's not just we're not going to have the rug pulled out from under us.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you think that in the last episode it was because it turns out to be like there's some religious thing, but I think his character is one of the sort of the linchpins that kind of pulls together that science and faith and whatever else.
Right.
Is the third pillar there.
Yeah.
And Penny, I've made a Libra with Virgo moon and Virgo rising. I see a lot of Virgo there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I can't say that much more about her because she just didn't.
She's not there that much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was almost like she was more of a strength of character.
She's the constant. That's what.
Yeah.
She's the constant.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ben Linus.
Probably my favorite character in the whole show.
Yep, he's a good one.
Evil genius.
Yep.
But not really evil.
No.
Like evil for the.
Everyone has their motives.
Yeah, I mean, Virgo. But the actor is a Virgo.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
But I love your character arc.
Yeah.
I think it's so...
So Ben is the manipulative and enigmatic leader of the others, quote unquote. And his arc is it involves the themes of the power of the island, protecting the island, wanting to own the island and own the power of the island, seeking forgiveness in the end and making amends for his past actions and the death of his daughter, the daughter's mother going insane, which is totally his fault, and then finding some measure of peace in the end, and also bringing characters together because he really does. He's dishonest, but at the same time he's very honest. Like he reveals a lot about the island that we never know through anybody else. But he's very manipulative. I've made him an Aquarius with Scorpio moon and Gemini rising.
Yeah, I think like the game designer.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because everything is a game to him. It's not really.
Right.
But it feels like he's playing games
totally. It's like almost like that Hannibal thing, like where it's just like, let's see what happens if I just put these two things together.
Yeah. And so smart and a lot of empathy, but like cognitive empathy.
Yeah.
And I don't know. He's my favorite.
Yeah.
Little enigma.
Yeah, he's a really interesting character. There was this one another meme like back in the day, a Lost meme that was just basically a pie chart of like scenes from Lost, and it was like 75% wandering through the forest, 20% like someone saying they're going to go find somebody else in the forest. 10%, something to do with the hatch or some inscrutable, bizarre thing that we'll never understand or have explained. And then 5% creepy close-ups of Ben Linus. I'm like, yeah, that's about right.
Who we got next year?
That's all of them.
That's all I have. I mean, I know there are some other characters. We didn't talk about Michael, and we didn't talk about
I was thinking of
Mr. Echo.
Richard Alpert.
Oh my God, I love him with the eyeliner.
Yeah.
Oh my God, he's so hot. And I loved him in, if anyone's watched Bates Motel, one of the best shows ever. He was the sheriff in that show. And he was like a good, pure-hearted character. So it was great to see him playing like an unambiguously good moral character at the center of this show that was just about psychopathy and bad motherhood and murder. And he was like the moral center of that show. It's just like tragic. But on Lost, he was the what was his name? The character's name?
Richard Alpert.
Richard Alpert. Yeah, he's the enigmatic, questionably immortal protector of the island. Not sure what.
Sort of, yeah.
Kind of, yeah.
I liked the character, and
character was great,
and I really liked him as an actor.
Oh yeah, big time.
He's Sag.
Yeah, yeah, he's awesome. I see some Scorpio in there too, for sure.
Yeah,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
With our Friends episode, we asked which one is most like you.
Oh gosh,
we have quite a few to choose from.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I'm gonna let you guys go first. I went first last time.
I think I'm a mixture of Ben and Juliet.
Wow, interesting. Yeah, I like that.
Similarly to Friends.
Yeah.
Outwardly, I seem like Monica or whatever.
Yeah.
Inwardly, I feel like Phoebe. I think outwardly, I'm probably similar to Juliet.
Interesting.
And inwardly, I'm more like Ben.
Yeah.
In this cascade of events.
Yeah.
Or maybe I have that flipped. I don't know. But
cool.
I like them both a lot.
Yeah, totally. I like that. How about you?
Well, I feel like predictably, I felt like I even when I didn't approve of what she was doing, she was being a dumb shit, I couldn't help but relate to Kate. To Kate.
Yeah.
Yeah, constantly.
Yeah.
And then for whatever reason, I felt really drawn to the Richard Alpert character.
Yeah.
And just the whole protector of something greater than what everybody else sees.
Yeah.
And recognizing that and feeling like I'm a part of this, and this is important.
Yeah.
So I felt strong connection with both of those two.
Interesting. I think
pressure's on.
Okay, I think there's a part of me that's like Sun for sure.
I thought Sun.
Yeah, because that's why I said Virgo, because I see a lot of her. The planting and the motherhood, not so much. Yeah. So maybe she's like on the outside, and maybe like aspirationally, I've got like a Desmond interior, maybe.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I particularly see Sun after like she's done in the show.
Yeah.
And, done, fed up, and becomes a badass.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
The badass part.
Yeah.
The badass part, because that's. I mean, not the first season, not the buttoned up, mousy Sun, but where she's
kind of like that criminal boss.
Yeah.
Vibes that
she's got a lot of layers, but yet also like the minute she hears that Jin might be alive, she's just like running, after him, and she's not going to do any, have any delays whatsoever. It's like, no, where's my husband?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I like about Desmond too, is just the, doing it all for love and
right,
all that. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I can see that.
Yeah. I like Charlie too, but
I love Charlie.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just that's just so poignant and painful.
I know. I can't really relate to that, but I'm attracted to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this has been great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm sorry if we didn't get to your favorite character. If we missed you, there are so many characters. I mean, God, all the characters who come in the sixth season from outside, and the Ghost Whisperer dude who I love, and like all the weird magic chemistry and physics and stuff like that. It's too much, but it's awesome. And if you haven't ever seen Lost and you don't know what we're talking about, but you're still listening somehow, go watch it. It's, I think, now back to Netflix. And if not, go to the library. It's on DVD. What's a DVD? It's this little disc thing. And you can just find it on some weird pirate site if you want. Yeah. Everything is findable these days. Anyway, thank you for coming. Thank you for contributing. And
this was wonderful.
Yeah, this is wonderful.
A pleasure.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, you can find us at starzology.com. You can email us at starzology@gmail.com. You can follow me at mspink.net. And thanks for listening, everyone. We will see you next time.
Bye.
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 Thanks so much for getting this far through the episode. I just want to take a moment to tell you about the two main options of my astrology services. So the first one is coaching. If you are an aspiring astrologer, and by that I mean someone who's perhaps a hobbyist astrologer or someone who's learning astrology or a student, or you've got a few books and you've been doing it for a while, but perhaps you need a little bit of help to bring it all together, then maybe getting some astrological coaching from me would be the answer for you. The astrology coaching I offer is a 1-hour session on Zoom, and it's tailored to answer your particular questions. For example, if you have issues with natal chart readings, we can go there. Or if you're having problems working with your forecasting, we can go there. Or even basic astrology stuff, or even getting yourself organized for your astrology business. The idea is that astrological coaching will answer your particular questions. It's tailored specifically to you and where you are in your astrological journey. And I'm happy to help you out with some guidance about how you can get going, what to focus on, and what to dismiss. So that would be the astrological coaching for people trying to learn astrology. The second astrological service I offer is consultations. So this is for someone who perhaps doesn't know anything about astrology, but they just want to have their chart read or get their chart done. Call it what you will. So once more, this is a 1-hour consultation over Zoom. I will interpret your chart, tell you about the main features, tell you about where the energy is flowing, and all the rest of what is entailed in a thorough natal chart interpretation. I can also add in some forecasting in there too, bearing in mind we only have 1 hour. So just in summary, I've got coaching for people who want to learn astrology, and I've got consultations for those who want to get an astrology reading done. I'm Alison Price from Starzology.com. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time.